Right, welcome back to MZ Marko Outlaw Kustoms. Another video. So, I dropped those parts off that I was talking about in the end of the last video, which is about to, go up at some point today, probably later on this evening. But, or at least I get a chance to put up earlier. I just finished editing it, so. So yeah, the shafts and stuff and bits and pieces that I was mucking around with at the end of that, I've dropped them off to get sorted. New bushes and shafts and whatever made that needs to be done. Hopefully they might have the headlight stuff sorted in the next couple of days, and then I can at least get that stuff together. That's the worst thing when you're waiting on people to do the things that need to be done so you can finish this. So yeah, I've got all the wheel bearings, still waiting on them, still waiting on the gearbox bearings, still waiting on the headlight stuff, still waiting on the tyre rod ends, and now I'm going to be waiting on the gears and stuff for this. So hopefully they don't take too long to start getting some bits back to me. Obviously typical, engineering workshop, they've got, plenty of other jobs to do, so it's just a matter of hopefully getting them back sooner than later. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain, but I grabbed a couple of cans of brake clean, so when I go to assemble the stuff I can give it that final rinse down. I grabbed another can of Etch It because I'm almost, with doing those few bits and pieces, I'm sort of out, well not out, but I'm getting low in the can, so I just grabbed another can. So I've got that handy for if I need to paint them out a little bits and pieces and etch them. And while I was there, they had like a little $15 thing, so I just grabbed some little rotary roller brushes that I can throw in a die grinder to help clean up some little bits and pieces, so that'll all come in handy. We'll still get a big grinder and whatever over the next couple of days. That'll turn up. But yeah, I just grabbed those because I thought I can throw one of those in the die grinder and it'll just help clean stuff up that needs to be cleaned up. Try and get some of these just rusty surfaces sorted. So yeah, I'm going to carry on cleaning up the housing and also just clean up the smalls, just make sure they're all prepped and ready. I can finish cleaning this gear up. It's almost done, but it just needs a little bit to go on it. Just get all the stuff dialed in, clean and prepped and ready to go, and obviously go through and just I'll clean all the surfaces up on this, just make sure it's clean. Again, just smoothly. Probably just run this over some sandpaper, not that it really needs it, but if I just wire brush it, at least then, because it doesn't really need to be too bad I suppose, it's got gaskets and stuff. I'll just clean it up anyway, you know what I mean? Make sure everything's right, ready to go, and hopefully when I get those shafts back, and bits and pieces, and hopefully get the bearings at this, the last bearing for this at the same time, we can put all this together. Yeah, and I'm going to have to probably start something else, so I'll probably have to do a bit of a reshuffle on these benches somewhere and move it always to get the stuff, but I can still paint a few bits and pieces. But yeah, I'll get this stuff cleaned today. Finish cleaning this stuff up and get it out of the road. And I was hoping to sort of just put it together like in the next day or two once I've got bearings. But that might happen now. It might be probably a couple of weeks before I get parts back, which is a hassle. That's the biggest problem with doing things like this, as you find things to be repaired. All of a sudden the timeline gets longer and longer and longer. So yeah, I can either play for the gearbox, or I've got the steering box I can pull down. I've actually got exploded drawings and stuff like that, so like if I have a look at that sort of stuff I can see what's going on there, and there is spare ones here if I happen to need to pull another one down to make it one really good one, like the gearbox. So yeah, I might start doing that sort of stuff if I run out of this today, by the time I get this. By the time I clean this housing up, it'll take a while. But anyway, I'll clean away the stuff I don't need here, and we'll get all this other stuff cleaned up, and I'll just get into it basically. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at. Actually, I should have another can of C.A.R, but I'm not too bad for that. Got a little bit left. Yeah, there's a little bit left in there yet. I'm not desperate for it, but yeah. So we just have to go on and get all this stuff sorted and set it aside somewhere, ready to put it back together when we get all the bits back. Typical. Alright, I'll get cleaning and I'll just come back when I got some more done. Something to show you anyway. Righty, so I bought this little whiteboard the other day. It's not very big, but just so I can write things on there. I thought better start writing things on there, otherwise we're gonna forget what we've got being made or what we need to get. So we've got the tie rod ends being remade, not by these guys, but they're being outsourced by these guys because they're sending it to some people that can make that stuff. So they're remaking some bits for the headlight brackets, waiting on the wheel bearings and axle bearings. I just put 6. Waiting on gearbox bearings. I've already got 1, and we're getting the output bush made in between those 2 shafts, and the lay shaft I think it's called, made for the gear set. Parts we need is body welting that go in between all the fenders and everything. Need some gasket paper obviously for the gearbox and just whatever else. Hood, oh jeez, man, how did I write that? Webbing, I think it's called. I think it's webbing, the piece, whatever it is that goes over here and over the radiator. I think that's called webbing in it. I think, it's what's stuck in my head at the moment. It's probably not called that, but, and I need some rubber to make the little bump stops for the doors. So I need to make 4 of those. So if I can get to some rubber from somewhere, I can make them hopefully. It shouldn't be too difficult if I just take my time. So yeah, if I can get something, I can probably just cut that out gently with obviously a really sharp frickin' Stanley blade or something like that. If I'm just work at it gently. So I need some rubber to make those. That's just some things I've thought of at the moment. We'll need other things, and as I think of it, I need to start writing on there. I bought this, got my sister to buy this little board the other day. I wanted a slightly bigger one, but they weren't available without horrendous. Like this was only like $15 or something. There was a slightly bigger one. It was meant to be $15, but I think you can only order online, typical, from the same place. But yeah, I wanted a slightly bigger board, but that'll do, just so I can write some things down, and it's sitting there staring at me all the time, if you know what I mean, instead of being in a book, and if you're not on the right page where you don't remember, but I just wrote those things on there, so at least we know what's being done, and don't forget about something, if you know what I mean, while we're, we've also got the radiator shell being away, supposedly being frickin' chrome too, or nickel plated, so I'll write that down there too. Right, so what have I been up to for the last wee while? Basically, I've just been cleaning up a few parts. I gave these a quick clean, like obviously you need to strip them down and work out exactly what's going on with those. These pieces here are the bits that fit on in the middle of the hood, which way they sit, can't remember, and they're like the bump stop for it, I suppose, stop it from going, probably not going down too far, but rattling around, I guess, with that bore. So I need to work out those at some point. I've got those other two of these things off. Yeah, those two. That's one. I've got 2 of these down here, and when I was up there the other day pulling that of the gearbox down, I spotted those on those door frames, so I pulled them off before and gave them a quick sandblast just to see what their conditions like. They're not too bad, they'll do the job. I need to replace. I actually thought maybe that copper was an add-on thing, but it looks like it might be a factory. It's just got a bit of rubber in the middle of it. that piece is like disintegrated, so is that one. So we'll have a look at the other one, and if I can find a little bit of round rubber that's about that sort of size, I'll just replace it and just put it in there. Obviously, I don't know why the copper's there, it is. So it must be factory, so I'll leave it there. I'm guessing it's factory. I'm not 100% sure, so I'll just leave it there. I started cleaning out this brick. I think it's for the vacuum fuel tank thing, which is not this one, but I like this sort of thing, where it works off the engine vacuum and it helps suck the fuel through from the fuel tank. They work off vacuum and it helps pump the fuel through, if you know, it's like a fuel pump basically. Whether we use it or not, but I would still like to have it on the car if it's not functional. I've repaired it, and because I had some little holes in it and bits and pieces ages ago. I'll just clean out the bracket to mount that on, so I can start repairing it and straightening it up. I've never done that. Where's that tank? And it's down in there. Oh, I might have the bracket for it. That might be for something else, I'm not sure. I thought there was a bracket for it, but oh, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so yeah, that's the bits, the old door shells. Right under those pieces, took those pieces off. So they go in here obviously, and under here, so there's one on each door. So yeah, and then we need 4 of those little bump stops. No. 4, 8. 8, I think. 1, 2. I think there's 2 on each door, I think. We'll open the door and have a look. I think there's 2 on the, might be 2 on the back. Is there 2 on the front? Or just 1 on the front? So there's 2 on the back, 1 here and 1 there. That's the piece I made to replicate what I could see on a photo. So it needs 2 for there. And we just need 1 here, or we need 2? And oh yeah, there's 2 for here as well. That's where those other pieces go on there. So yeah, we need 8 of those. So I need enough rubber to make 8 of them. And that's me sample. So yeah, so you need to make those so they can sit in there like that, and they just sit obviously slightly proud, so the door pushes up against them and doesn't rattle. Really what the other piece is for, I'm not really sure, but it's there. So it's going back on. It's one of those things, I suppose. It's like a little guide, just to help guide the door in, I guess. Keep it the same place. I don't really know. It's sort of one of those nothing things. It was probably one of those things they thought was a good idea at the time, but probably wasn't really needed, but it's there. So I'll put it on. So that's about what I've been doing. And the other thing I've done, which I've actually done a separate little video on, I was having issues with, because I'm just using this old vacuum cleaner, and you'll see it on the other video anyway. I'm using this vacuum cleaner is the dust extraction for here. And what it was, because it was, I've only just got this jammed in there, because it was just coming straight through here, through the end of the thing, was always catching with this walnut and stuff like that. It was all building up around the ear when it's sucking. So I got a little bit of tube, exhaust tube, and I cut 3 windows in it, plus left the end open, and just wrapped a bit of this old cloth around it, because I had a piece of this just right over the end of it, and it was working fine when you're not using the, and it just slides off, so I can give it a tap to get the crap out of it if I need to. But yeah, because I just had it over the end of that, and it was filling up full of shit, it was a pain in the ass. Where this still fills up a little bit, but it's taken, like I can sandblast, sit there and media blast, sandblast for, you know, a good hour, and then it might be starting to choke itself, if you know what I mean. So I can just slip it off, give it a tap and put it back on, whereas before it was taped on there, so it's taped on there now, but you know what I mean. So I just made that out of pieces, just exhaust tubing that fitted over there. Just, yeah, instead of buying something, like buying a big filter or something like that, I just made it out of this, you know, cut 3 windows in it, as you can see, and yeah, just left the end open and just wrapped that around it, just to help stop the big shit going into the vacuum cleaner, but also to stop it from blocking up with that on there, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I did that too, just to help make life a little bit easier, keep the dust out of there when you're cleaning parts up. So that's about what I've been doing. It's almost lunchtime, not quite. So yeah, it's basically what I've been doing this morning, just cleaning these bits up, mucking around doing other little things, you know, just finding bits and pieces that I can clean up as I'm doing other stuff to try and get a few pieces sorted and painted and whatever, just as I'm doing bits. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. Nothing crazy, just doing little bits and pieces like that, just little extra steps forward. It's all I can do at the moment, because I'm sort of, I wouldn't say I'm at a standstill, but like until we get some of these pieces back. What I got here on my little list, and I'll better keep adding other things to the list of stuff to buy. You know, we're waiting on all those bits, so it makes it hard to, I guess, move forward. You know, once I get a few of these other bits and pieces, hopefully I'll get some of it back, and we can put it back. You know, start putting some of it back together. We've still got to get these made too. The rims for the tyres. We're also going to get tyres. But hopefully, you know, once we start getting pieces back, we can start putting things back on the car and actually make it put it back together. But it's very awkward to do that until we get some of these pieces, so we can check fitments and all that sort of stuff. But I've got plenty of other little things to do, but it's like one of those things, you don't want too many projects on the go, otherwise you start running out of space to put things tidily and not lose bits or get bits mixed up and then wonder where something is later on, which is very easily done. Anyway, I'll carry on and probably see you after lunch. Right, just do a update on this, because I posted a little video up that I made earlier on. And my partner, I can't remember, it was 52 or 62. He was saying that there's, and I have seen this a similar sort of system. A lot of the bagless vacuum cleaners, they got that little cone thing that helps separate obviously the stuff. Well, there's a thing you can buy that's got like an attachment there, and it's got the cone thing, and then you plug whatever way the hose is into it. Well, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but you could still have something like that to help stop the big shit coming through, and then whatever else comes through ends up in a bucket, and then you attach your vacuum cleaner to the thing, which is probably not a bad idea. I haven't really seen one of those. Mind you, you know, I haven't really studied into these sort of things. You know, I've known they existed, but I didn't really know, apart from having some sort of vacuum system on them. I haven't really seen the big dust filtration bucket collector and then have a vacuum. I've never seen that, so it's not a bad tip, because the attachment really is only, you know, say $20 sort of type thing, and then you can put a bucket underneath it. You'd have to really study it, but that attachment with the cyclone thing on it, which doesn't look like it's terribly expensive, and then you can attach it to like a bucket like that, or a bigger bucket, or a drum, or anything to collect any extra crap that went through there. So it's probably not a bad idea either, but that's not a bad tip, just to help stop that shit from getting sucked into that pipe for start off. You know, stop the big stuff going in there anyway. You know what, I'm going to carry on, work out what I'm going to work on next. I think I might start trying to just get this case started, cleaned up anyway, and mark some bits and pieces. You know, get some of these a bit more cleaned up, polish these surfaces up. You know, I've got lots of little things here to do, but I might start, see if I can get this smoothed out a little bit, so it's not quite so scungy looking, I suppose you'd call it. It's clean, but it just looks old and rough, I guess. And we're doing your restoration, it'd be nice to have it looking half reasonable, even though you're never going to see it unless you're underneath the vehicle. But I guess, you know, if it looks clean and tidy, it's, you know, just a little step closer, I guess, and looks a bit better. If I can get to sort of look a little bit like this instead of like this, you know, we get past this stage, if you know what I mean, a bit further on in this, the whole thing, well, I'll be happy. See how we get on. Righty, I didn't really want to start another small project from this car at the moment. I wanted to try and get some completed, but I kind of don't have a lot of choice at the moment. Like, I've still got some little bits and pieces I can paint, but again, I don't want to mix up such minute amounts to paint a few things. I need to paint a whole heap of stuff, if you know what I mean. So the next thing that probably apart from going towards the motor end of it, because see, that's another thing I need to run the board, is the clutch and flywheel and pressure plate. That's way being done too. Let's write that on here before I forget. I'll come back in a minute. That just reminded me. Right, I've written that on the board now. So yeah, the only other thing that really in this sort of line, well, apart from a few small stuff that has sort of been done, it just really needs a mild clean up and paint. You know, like there's lots of brake linkages and all that sort of stuff that's all sort of been played with and done. You know, it just sort of really needs just painted and put on. But we've got the steering box and the column to sort of have a good look at, strip down, obviously just check, make sure it's right. It works, but it mightn't hurt to just open it up, have a wee look, make sure everything is okay in there, that it's not excessively worn, all those sorts of things, and then we can obviously clean it up, adjust it, you know, get some fresh grease, oil, whatever in there. So look, I've got a couple of PDFs. I just really need to have a quick look at that just to work out mainly how the top of the column comes apart. So yeah, I want to have a look. Obviously it's kind of obvious down here, you know, and do bolts, nuts, whatever, and it'll come apart. But I need to work out how this comes out, and then hopefully how to get this off so we can clean all this up, obviously clean the shaft up. This is obviously, you know, separate, and that moves independently with this piece down here. This is all to do with that electrical switch that I rebuilt there, and I showed you there, I don't know, a couple of videos ago. And then obviously throttle linkage and all that sort of stuff is all attached in here. There's another piece that goes down through the centre as well, like another lever, which is throttle and whatever. Well, one of them's the throttle, one of them's the electrical switch. So yeah, I need to work. Actually, I think the one that goes down in between is the electrical switch one. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I need to just strip this down. Obviously, give it a really good clean up. Clean all the bits individually. Go through it, make sure it's right. Check the bearings. Yeah, the bearings are probably going to be fine in this sort of thing because it's fairly well sealed up. But just check it for wear. Make sure it's not going to fail or do anything stupid. And if it does look really worn, and I mean excessively worn, there is others here that maybe I can strip one of them down and see if it's in better condition and make one out of 2 or 3 if it need be, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I just need to work out what the go is to get this out without not knowing and forcing something and breaking something, because the last thing I want to do is break this stuff. So once I can get that off, I can get the rest of it apart, if you know what I mean. This here might just come out when I undo some of these other bits, but I don't know. I need to work that out. I need to have a look at this PDF. So I'll do that, and I'll come back and I'll start getting this apart, because it's about 3 o'clock now anyway, so I've only got really about an hour or so left, so that'll probably give me enough time to work a few things out and see if we can get it apart, at least this afternoon, or start anyway. So I'll come back to you in a minute and have a look at this PDF and just see if I can work out a few other things internally and just make sure that I'm going to pull it apart the right way and tackle things first. Alrighty, I think it's one of those mysteries of the universe. Until you pull it apart, you don't know, but I think that looks like it's got a little spline on it, and I think this end's the same. So what I might do, because I just cleaned it up, you can sort of see that it's got like a little spline in there, and I think it's exactly the same at the other end. So this is aluminium, so I might leave it alone. So I might try and just heat this see if I can get it enough, and then see if I can maybe just, I want to be careful too because I don't want to break this, but just see if I can get it to come off one end or the other anyway. I'll see if I can slide that off, and then I should be able to pull the other piece out. At least that gets me going. I think that's about the only way they come off. It's just on a spline, it's just pushed on, and obviously just gravity keeps it there, if you know what I mean. I think that's about the only way it comes on, or off. So I'll give this a little bit of gentle heat, and see if I can move this end without prying too hard, if you know what I mean. And if that one end won't come, well, I'll try that. See, I might have to strip another one and see if we can get that's pretty huckery on there. That's quite nasty. I know there is other boxes here, so that's what I was trying to say, maybe. And that worm's probably all part of it, so there's not much I can do about that. But it's maybe one of those things you could probably just take a skim off that and re-polish it up, and then make a slightly oversized bush or something if you need to. I'm going to pop the end off this just to have a wee look. I've just rinsed the worst of the shit out of there in the meantime. So this is another bearing that obviously goes on here, like that one. Right. So obviously that hasn't been don't know. It just seems to be just get loaded up, I don't know. Pull it off here. Let's see if we can get into here. What's looks like 11/16. Oh, 7/16, I should say. So yeah, there is a bush in there. So we could probably get that, just sneak down a little bit and get a nice new bush made up for that. If I don't have a better clone, but we're going to have to get a bush to make that, because that is just absolutely mongreled. I actually thought this might have been a fairly simple fix, but that is really, really chewed up in the bottom of that. Not sure if you can see that. I'll give it another wee wash so you can have a better look. Hopefully you can see that in there. Let's make the light in the right place. You can kind of see that's absolutely frickin' hammered. It's all chewed to pieces. Which is a bit of a shame, but that's life. But it wouldn't be hard to, you know, it depends, you know, like if I can find another box that's got a better shaft in it, and this is better, you know, I'll use this piece and you know, we'll just, like I said, we'll make one out of two or three, you know. Obviously this is, well, I don't know if this is worn or that's worn. I'm assuming these bearings really shouldn't be too bad in nick. You know, they might be, we'll give them a really good clean up and just see what they're like, you know, rinse them out, wash them out, and then we'll just, you know, put a little bit of light oil on them, just see what they're like. But I don't know if this is meant to be, again, you can actually see the balls in there. Again, compressor, shut up. Hold on, I'll turn the camera around. Right, I don't know if you can see in there or not, but you can see like there's a, you can actually see the ball bearings in there. Maybe you can see that way. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, you can see the ball bearings in there. So I don't know if that's meant to be like that or not. When I get the other part of it apart, I'll better know more. I just didn't think that's quite a loose fit on there. Like it's quite a loose fit. So it could be wear on here, but it could be wear in there. But I wouldn't imagine, like, it's probably like again, the poor old thing had done a lot of work. So it's hard to say whether that's worn in there or worn on there, or whether that's just like it, and just when it's loaded up and the slack's taken out of it, it just takes whatever it can. But with that being really worn in there, and being worn in that thing, it's probably not meant to be like that, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't imagine it's meant to be like that, but who am I to say? I'm only trying to work it out. But yeah. Oh, shoot my dad's and see if he's got a puller. See if we can get that off. Which will have a look. We have to, I don't know if you had a decent look about there now. See what we can do to get that nut off, get that thing off, and then at least we can get this out. Yeah, and I think what I'll do is I'll find another, go and hunt for another box and strip it down until we find enough good pits that we can maybe make one without spending money on it. But if we have to, we have to, if you know what I mean. It's just one of those things. It's typical old car when you're playing with shit that's old. You guarantee everything you touch is worn out somewhere, you know, 100 years old. You know, cars that are 20, 30, 40 years old are bad enough, you know, let alone something that's 100 years old that's probably never, you know, or probably didn't really have a lot of maintenance in its last 20 years life, if you know what I mean. So, especially as it turned into a farm truck, you know, they probably would have changed the oil and put fuel in it and maybe greased the odd bits and pieces, but the rest of it was just driven. So yeah, anyway, I'll have a look at this nut, see if I can get that off at least. Maybe give that a tap with a hammer just to see if it'll shock off. It's probably going to need pulled, but, and then yeah, we'll have a look and see if there's another box, and we'll strip it down and compare notes and whatever until we find enough good bits. Right, found a socket that fits, the only one that I've got, same as 32mm. Well, close enough. I've probably got a standard or a imperial socket. That was, when I put the calipers on, that was the first one that sort of popped to mind. So we'll go with that one. it fits. That's all that matters. Right, what is it with women? And they get a bit of news and it can't wait 40 minutes for you to get home, or an hour for you to get home, or a couple of hours for you to, when the next time they hear from or see from you, to tell you something that's not really super important, but they'll ring and talk to you for frickin' 20 minutes about crap that you could have done when you got home. What is this? Anyway, on that note, I found another steering box. Oh, I don't understand women sometimes. It's like they'll ring you up to tell you the most. Like, it wasn't not important, but it could have waited freaking 40 minutes an hour instead of wasting my time for fucking 20 minutes. Anyway, right. So we've got another steering column here. Now, this one here is a bit more interesting. Yeah, this has had the clamp on it here for the steering column, obviously, for the support. But this one here has got, or is that on the car? I'll have to have a look. These have got a steering lock. This one's got a steering lock on it. Let's have a look. Is it on the dashboard? It's interesting. This has got a steering lock on it, and I knew that some of them had it, but I don't think we, had seen. Well, I don't think I'd realised this has got a key in it here. So we're talking 1925, and it's got a key that locks the frickin' steering column. That gearbox has got a key for the gear lever. I can understand having one or the other, but not both. So maybe it was an option. It was either the gear lever lock or maybe the steering column lock, because that's got no thing in it to lock it. Like, there's been no hole in here to lock it. Because it's got an ignition switch thingy that fits on here. It's interesting. I'll have to have a bit of a study and just see. Well, not that we need both, but maybe you could put both on it. She was the extra special model. We'll go have a look at that. We'll go have a look at that dash frame and stuff. Sorry about the big mitt in the road. Let's go have a look. It's interesting sometimes when you're doing archaeological digs like this. So yeah, it's not in there anyway, so I know that. So on that dash, is that bit on there? It is. Oh, see that bit hanging off the bottom of the dashboard. So that's the bit that's on there, and that's this here only has this on it. So I'll take this with me. So we'll look here. So this is obviously off. Who would know whether it's a high spec car or what it is? But this is completely different, isn't it? It's interesting. So that's the same thing. Well, the shoemaker's the same thing. It would have to be interesting to have a look, unless it. Well, it's only a matter of frickin' having a look on, sitting it in the hole and having a look. But I'm guessing this was up underneath, bolted up underneath that piece too, and it's a completely different unit. It sort of looks similar at the top, doesn't it? It's similar at the top, but it's not the same. It's the that actually bolts to it. Let's have another look. Let's have another look. Because, you know, I don't want to, well, yeah, I can pull that one apart anyway, but it'll just be interesting to know whether I'll just pull it on. No, it's not something I've dived into and really, you know, had a deep dive, you know what I mean? Yet I haven't quite got there. So yeah, that bolt's on there. Like that. Go this way so I'm not tangled up in the frickin' wires and scratching fenders. I'll shift that shit shortly. Interesting. Very interesting. So, yeah. It's different, but it's the same, but it's different, isn't it? Interesting. 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 I wonder. See, because what's that? Yeah, I don't know. Alright. Oh. I'll see if I can get this apart anyway, at least. Maybe the shafts won't be the same, I don't know. We'll pull it apart and we'll have a look. But anyway, this is how that electrical switch works. It's got that gear on it and it runs past the other piece, and that box is out here, if you remember that from the other day. And that turns the centre one, and then the outside one turns and controls that other lever, the throttle. So yeah, I'll see if I can get this apart anyway, and we'll see whether we can use the bits out of this or whether it's not compatible because of this. I don't know. Just hope I can get it out. It's weird though. It's like it's got some extra bits on here, so it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it, whether it's a different setup. I'll have to have a look at that book. Yeah, right. I'm wondering if it might be a later model. I was just having a look in the book, and it says the ignition switch on that there, which is the book for the car, is in the dashboard itself and beside the instrument cluster and everything. So it's not to say this is again 26 or 27, and they went away from that lock piece on the gear stick and the ignition on the dashboard and went to something on the column and put a lock on the column. So I think I might still pull it apart, but it mightn't be any good to us. It might be just as easy to shave the end of that, throw that in a lathe and just turn a little bit off that, get it true, and make a new bush for it. But if that shaft is possibly the same, we might be in luck, but this makes me think it could be different. You know, it's possibly something there to lock it, but we'll find out. I'll start pulling it apart now. I don't know if I'm going to get it all apart tonight, but we'll start now, I guess. of it. I wouldn't say if you would call it better or worse. But we want to have a look in here to see what the end of the shaft's like and the bush is like, and then we can pull the shaft out of here and see if it's the same as this one and see which one is better. Yeah, it feels better. It's a good start. Give this a wee wash out. See if it's like new. Definitely looks better in there. Hopefully you can see in there. Not 100% sure how much better, but it's definitely better in there. And the end of the shaft's not all chewed up like that one. Like, it's a little bit ridgy, but like, you wouldn't, this is something you wouldn't really panic about. Like, you're steering, but you're not, it's not as though that's spinning it, you know, several thousand revs. You're turning corners when you turn corners, you know. That's, looks quite usable. Right, let's compare shafts here, because yeah, this one here is quite ugly. Could be. I have a skim turn off it and a slightly bit of bush made, but this is the next step. This is the steering column the same. Oh, right. Okay, so that's how the lock works. It's got a little sleeve over it. No, it's a knurled piece and it just sits down on there and stays there. Right. But apart from that, appears to be the same. Appears to be the same. It's freaking very, very rusty though. It's got a lot of water down it. But, yeah. I think we'll have a better look tomorrow. Just really assess to make sure one will work with the other. Yeah, we can always get rid of that bit if we need to. So I don't think this is going to work, that steering column lock thing with that car, like it could, but you know what I mean. But anyway, I might throw that back in the tub, which I'll throw both of them back in the tub. Just let them clean up overnight, soak, so we can try and get a little bit cleaner. Probably not going to use this one because it is mongreled in that end, but might as well clean it up just in case I want some bits off it. Let's see how the bearing. I'll throw both those in there as well. Alright guys, we'll see you in the morning.